This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for, and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads, and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
Welcome to the House of Hockey podcast. This is episode 37, gobble gobble, coming out the week of Thanksgiving. So we're going to do things a little different today. I'm one of your hosts, Rae Rae.
And I'm the other host, Breezy.
Yes. And since it's a holiday week, I'm a little jet lagged. I just got back to LA, so I'm a little out of it. But either way, we're going to answer some of your questions, listeners, our social media friends. We asked you all to ask us anything, and we're going to answer. We picked 3 questions from all of the questions we got, and we're going to answer those, and then some other just fun sort of behind the scenes kind of questions about the podcast. And but before we do all that, I feel like, Breezy, you need to inform everybody how many turkeys you're going to be making this Thanksgiving, and then I will tell everybody how many I'm going to be making.
Breezy's a barbecue pit. I'm making 2 turkeys this Thanksgiving. I have a kind of a traditional one that's going to be in the oven because I have family members that are kind of weird and they don't like weird stuff. I don't know how bad a turkey, I don't know how a turkey could be weird, but they don't like weird stuff. They're very traditional. They want the stuffing, they want the gravy, whatever. That's just what it is. So I'm doing a traditional one, and then I have a smoked turkey that I'm going to be doing. So it's going to be smoking for, I think it's like 16 hours. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't also just throw in a deep fried turkey. Like, you might as well.
You know, I've always wanted to do that, actually. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe I should. Yeah. Why not?
Oh, yeah. I will be making 0 turkeys because we all know that I'm not the best cook, and there's nobody to make a turkey for besides myself, and I have no interest in tackling that for myself at this point. So I will be buying a roasted chicken, and I will be making some sweet potatoes and probably some Brussels sprouts and calling it a day. So I came home. I feel like I should just give a short update. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see that behind me, I am no longer in Maine. I have come back to LA. I made a pit stop in Florida for work and then flew back. So I came home and I had a bunch of boxes and mail and everything I went through yesterday. And my very good British friends who live in San Francisco, they sent me a little gifty, and it's a Funko. No, I did not just swear. It's a Funko. They're these a vinyl figurine, a vinyl figure, and they did a whole series of mascots. And of course, Tommy Hawk for the Chicago Blackhawks, our mascot, was one of them. And they said, we saw this and we just had to get it for you. We just knew you would love it. And I do. And so now Tommy Hawk is over my shoulder protecting me from the window. That's all I got for you. And I have a Jonathan Toews one as well that they also got me. So shout out to my friends who know me very well. Like, they make these Funkos and, you know, they do Star Wars, I think, and Harry Potter and like Disney and like all these other characters. And clearly the only thing I would want would be anything Blackhawks hockey related. So they get me
obviously
the 3 things that exist for me. So I adore them. So that's a new little gifty behind me.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great to your collection.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Breezy's got walls full of autographed Hall of Fame legendary hockey players. I've got a statue of David because I think it's funny, and I've got a Funko. Like, it's just how we are. Oh, something else that was at my house in LA when I came home
Oh,
was
oh,
my Clark Griswold jersey.
let's go. Mine's
It's,
downstairs.
oh my God, it's freaking amazing.
Great quality.
Excellent quality. And I feel like it's it's like the most complete representation of so many things for me in one hockey jersey that I never thought like I needed or didn't know
Right.
I needed. Like
Right.
I love Christmas Vacation, the movie. It's
Absolutely.
family favorite. That movie is set in Chicago,
Yeah.
obviously, because he's Clark Griswold is wearing a Blackhawks jersey.
Yeah.
It's got his name on it with double zeros. Like I feel like this is the most perfect jersey for me, just like all year round. Like I should wear
It
this
is.
forever. Like it's a quite summarizes my life. It's awesome. I'm so excited. You got yours?
Yes, I got mine, and I actually ordered mine, and it was like really large, like really big. So I sent mine back, and I got a smaller size. So I'm really excited about it. I am wearing it Thanksgiving. I told my family, "You're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm wearing this all season long,
Mm-hmm.
probably every day, honestly."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah.
Very excited for it. And it's
Shout
funny because
out.
my nephew saw it, and he
Uh
goes, "I think I need one too." I call my nephew Sparky after that movie.
Oh my God. He has to have one.
He has to. So I think I might get him the red one because that's fine. I mean, we could be twins, I guess.
Yeah, it's gotta be the same.
It's got to be the
It's the one
same.
that he wears in the movie is the white one.
That is true. But he does look good in red. I'll get him the freaking white one. That's fine. But
Come
I do call
on.
him Sparky because of that movie. So
So good.
he's like, I'm Sparky. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he goes, after the freaking movie. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think I'm gonna get him one.
Yeah. Clark. Anyway, I'm super
Yeah.
excited to be wearing. I got a small and it's
Yeah.
big on me
Yeah.
too. So, but it's really good quality. Shout out to our buddy Sean.
Should we get into some questions?
Let's answer our longtime listener fan questions.
All right. You wanna do the honors? You wanna start it off?
Sure. At CHRS37076 asked us, who comes up with the funny quips? Like
Well,
captions?
as in captions, yes.
Mm. Well, it's a combination
Yeah.
for House of Hockey.
Yes. Combination for House of Hockey. We actually we work really well together when we come up with our social media calendar.
Mm-hmm.
We're very prepared. We're very spreadsheet oriented, I'll say that. Um, I think either one of us will kind of start it, and then some of us ultimately end up, either one of us will finish it or make adjustments or something like that. As far as the hockey lady goes, that's all your girl over there.
Yeah. And
And as
Hunks
far
of
as Hunks
Hockey.
Hockey goes, I come up with every one of them. I don't know how I kind of just look at the photo and I kind of like write down just whatever comes to mind, or I'll look up like a pickup line that like kind of goes along with the photo. Can't take credit for any of those obviously well-known pickup lines, but sometimes I do come up with some of my own.
You
Yeah.
do. I'm always thoroughly impressed with the pickup lines on Hunks of Hockey. I always giggle. I'm like, hee, that was so good.
It's funny because I so would not talk like that in normal like circumstances, but like because it like gets a rise out of people sometimes, and like I know it's funny. Like I like making people laugh, so that's
Mhm.
that.
Yes. There's a question from Cami Joe 94. She asked, and I'm guessing this is mostly for me, but you should chime in as well.
Okay.
Out of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and the Chicago Blackhawks, who gets sent packing first? She doesn't want to see either of them go, but it might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I think fans would want to see Toews go. They would not want to see Kane go. I think Kane's a lifelong Blackhawk. I don't think he'll ever leave unless I don't know. I don't see him leaving, but I would say Tays would go first. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Tays. I think his days are numbered over there. So I'm gonna say Kane. I think is gonna be a life longer. He'll end up getting a C,
Mm-hmm.
and Tays will be going somewhere where he's needed, where his leadership is needed, and that could be I don't know. Maybe he'll end up in Ottawa. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. And then you read off the third one from JL Wells.
J.O. Wells 55418 asked our favorite hockey story and why. Um, this is tough. I feel like we've had so many great stories, and I know it's a little cliche to say, but I don't know. What's your favorite story?
My favorite story. I mean, I think we talked a little bit about this last week on last
Yeah.
week's episode with our favorite stories, but I think from Joe Cangelosi of the FPHL of the Carolina Thunderbirds. He, I think what I loved most about this one story was how he had left the team briefly. They gave away his jersey number to another player. And when he came back to the team, he wanted his number back. And all he had to do was buy a guy a pair of Lululemon pants, which I think just perfectly illustrated the difference between the FPHL and like the NHL, where when a player comes to a team and in the NHL and they want their number back, they have to buy a guy like a Rolex and like some Dom Perignon or like a car or some shit. But
Yeah.
in the FPHL, all he had to do was buy him a pair of Lululemon pants, which are amazing and
Yes.
are on the higher end of pricing, but it was just like such a perfect way for fans to understand like the league in one simple story. That might be one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think I might have to pick a story just because I lived the story. In episode 2, our good friend Tracy, our favorite redheaded guest, I'm gonna throw
Mm-hmm.
that in there. We went to Nashville together, and we ended up we went to the game, and it was Kings versus Preds. Obviously, my heart was torn a little bit, but I was in Nashville. I was head to toe, like hat down to my socks, Preds gear. Diehard fan that night, and we ended up leaving the game. The Preds had won. It was like 5-0 or something like that, and so Tracy and my friend Amanda were pretty bummed out because the Kings lost. I was having a great time. Plus, I was in my favorite city. We ended up walking across the street. Tracy goes, "I think we need to go into this bar. It's called Rippy's. It's right on the corner. For anyone who's been to Nashville, Rippy's is a good spot to go." We walk in there, and we did know that it was the King's dad's trip, and all of the King's dads were in Rippy's, hanging out, having beers, and we spent the entire night basically just talking hockey with them. It was absolutely incredible. It was quite odd because I was talking Kings hockey, but I was head to toe Preds. Um,
I forgot
a
about
bit
that
awkward.
story. I mean,
A
I
bit
didn't
awkward. Yeah,
forget, but that was a really funny story from
it was funny.
you and
And then,
Tracy.
yeah, it was just funny because I think I got a lot of respect from the dads that night, and I don't think a lot of people could say that.
No, because you could
Yeah,
talk hockey in both teams and you had to explain yourself.
yeah,
Like in the,
and I had to, and they were just looking at me. They're like, "You're just ridiculous," and I was like, "Come on, man."
come
So it was good.
on.
I think that's probably my favorite story and why. So
There you go.
yeah,
There's a couple other cool questions we thought we would just dive into and let you in on some more insight on you and me and just how we do the
Yeah.
podcast. But I feel like this one question is sort of combined. What have you learned most from your guests? And then what have our guests changed our feelings on teams or players? I feel like that's my answer to that question. Like, what have I learned most from our guests is that I've learned so much more about
Mm-hmm.
the game, which has changed my feelings on some of the aspects of the teams and the players and the things that they go through from a mental perspective, from being traded, from playing their heart out and just loving the game, but having fun and telling jokes and playing pranks, which I just love so much about that sort of humbleness in the community. And I think it's just opened my eyes to so much more perspective.
I have to agree with you. I think each guest has broadened both our vision of the sport and what's going on, and I think. Sorry, Ray was just making some funny faces over there for those who are not watching on YouTube right now, but they just kind of broadened my and Ray's vision of the sport, and you learn so much from every aspect, and from the player to a fan to a wife or a broadcaster, and just kind of seeing the day in the life of what goes on from all different levels and how different they are, but at the same time how similar they are, and how much every little piece of the puzzle means to one another, and a fan means just as much to a player as the player means to the fan and to the broadcaster, or
Mhm.
I mean, for whatever level of play it is. So I think it's just really cool and interesting to. I think that's why we do it. We just want to hear the different stories and explore every option of the sport, I guess.
Yeah, we're students of the game and the community. We just want to
Yeah.
soak in as much as possible and hear from as many different people who are involved in this community and hear what they have to say and continue to learn about something that you and I both love and already have a very strong baseline knowledge about, and
Hmm.
just broaden that and bring all that to the fans who love the game as well. What influences you to bring on the guests we've brought on, and how can you become a guest? Well, I think what influences us is people with an interesting story. Obviously, they have to be involved in hockey in some way. And I think we like to keep a wide variety, and we try really hard to not stick to just people in the hockey world that are amongst our favorite individual teams. And we're really trying to make an effort to bring on somebody, whatever that connection is, to all 31 teams, and hopefully,
Hmm.
32 when that happens next year. But just to make sure we're talking to all of the individual fan bases and learn more about them, just people who have a unique aspect to the game. And that's kind of how we decide, right?
Yeah, and I don't think either. I mean, we obviously have made it clear we don't just stick to the NHL. We
Mm-hmm.
we do all different types of leagues and whatnot. But I think as long as, I mean, you could be a fan that's a photographer that takes cool shots but has really cool stories of interacting with the players, or maybe you travel to go see different arenas. Those are the kinds of things we like to hear. So like, if you're, I mean, anyone can come on the podcast really, as long as you have cool stories and are willing to share, and just put the sport first and in
Mm-hmm.
good light. So I think as far as picking people, again, we're not picky, but we are in constant communication with each other. Like, we give updates to each other, like, I feel like 2 to 3 times a day sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and we're just saying, I'll find someone and I'll shoot it over, and we're like, yeah, let's figure it out, see if there's a day available, and usually it works out, and that's just kind of how the it's kind of how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Just go with the flow, you
Yeah.
know. We've got a list of dream guests, which
Mm-hmm.
include Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Carrie Underwood, Mike Fisher. But we've got our big dream goals and then our moderate goals, and we're always open to bringing on people who we know will entertain you. Because really, I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's about Breezy and I being interested as well. But if we're interested, that means that you all listening are probably going to be pretty interested because we're fans and you're fans, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of it. So
And we just want to give you the fans' perspective. And if you want to come on, shoot us a DM. Let's talk. How about that?
exactly.
Speaking of guests, do we ever get nervous recording episodes?
I feel like a couple in the beginning, I would get
Yeah.
a little nervous, like talking to certain former players or people that maybe, was like really exciting. It's more of like
Mm-hmm.
excited nervous, not the like stuttering kind of nervous where I just like start sweating profusely and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But overall, I think I feel a lot more comfortable now that we've talked to
Mm-hmm.
so many people and we've learned so much more that I feel much more relaxed. What about you?
Yeah. I'm just a nervous person in general, just because I can't talk. I'm terrible with numbers. I can't, words just don't even make sense to me sometimes. So in general, I'm nervous, but like I would say the first few episodes, I was pretty nervous just because like this was totally out of my world. Like I was
Right.
like, what am I doing? Like I can't do this. But after that, like it just got kind of like it honestly, we kind of are just talking with friends at this point. We spend at least, I'd say, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes before we even hit record, just kind of talking to our guest and just having a good time. And so when we do, hit the record button, we're pretty relaxed. We're pretty
Yeah.
just, and by that time we're friends. We're talking, we're joking, and yeah. So I would say, unless it's like a crazy person, then yeah, I will get a little like, oh boy, here we go. Here,
Hmm.
it's. I have 3 minutes to compose myself. Like, what's going on? But that hasn't happened.
It's normal to get a little nervous, excited about that, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think we do a pretty good job of just having a conversation with them and talking to our guests like we're friends, just shooting the shit, talking hockey, and
Yeah,
that's the kind of vibe we go for. What
yeah.
would you say is the hardest part? What did I just say? Was that even English? And you said you have a hard
You're
time with words. What is the hardest part? I sounded like a 2-year-old who can't pronounce
yeah.
hottest hot. What? Where am I? Boston? Like what the fuck? Anyway, so what's the hardest part
Yeah.
about hosting a podcast for you, Breezy?
Um. Gosh, I don't know. I think the hardest part about hosting it, or just like having the podcast in general.
I don't know. Like doing it, putting it all together.
Putting it all together. I think the it's hard, but it's not hard at the same time. Is just making the guest feel comfortable and like we're
Mm-hmm.
not out to do like heavy hitter questions. I think the common perception, is that the right word to say it, is when you come onto a podcast, people are assuming that you're going to be like trying to like dig for information and stuff like that. And that's not what we are. And that's not what we do. So to when we're doing our outreach, to some of our guests, we have to somewhat be over informative, I guess, to say like, hey, we're not going to be asking these kinds of questions. We just want to talk to you or whatever. But I think once we get on and break the ice a little bit, it's fine. But I think that's probably the hardest part for me, is just wanting to make them feel comfortable and that
Gotcha.
we're not gonna drag their name through the dirt or anything like that. So
Yeah, we're not a gotcha kind of show.
right,
Uh,
exactly,
we just want to hear everything you have to say, and we will accept any and all that you have to say. Whatever you want to talk
yeah,
about, we're happy with.
yeah,
And I like how when I first asked this question, I don't think you heard me, but I said, is the hardest part doing the podcast working with me? And you did not answer the question.
Oh, I didn't even hear you. I didn't even hear you. Sorry. No,
I didn't think so.
actually.
I was making a really bad self-deprecating
Oh,
joke.
no. You're so bad to work with.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
You're
You
the
just don't
worst, Breezy.
respond. You don't respond. You make fun of me all the time. Our birds' heads are falling off. No, just kidding.
No.
Anyway.
I just wanted to clarify so that
Yeah.
people were like, oh my God, Breezy hates her. And then like the rumor mill
No,
starts.
I didn't hear you. I think I think my earbud fell out of my ear when you were asking the question. I was all,
Sure.
I did not hear you. I didn't hear you. I
and
promise.
it's busting your chops.
What's the hardest part for you? I feel like you're pretty like low key. Like this is like what you do for a living. So I feel like you gotta have something in there.
I'm pretty low key about it. I love doing it. So I don't know that there's anything particularly hard. I think I'm always learning something. I'm always learning new ways of editing and putting our social clips together and being like, what's the better story? What's the better hook? What's the better question? What's the audience want to hear? Like when we're doing the interviews, I'm obviously listening to them answer, and you bring such a different perspective of questions than I do. But I think we cover all the bases for the listeners, and I think the hardest part for me, or like just doing a podcast in general, is that it's hard to grow. There's so much to listen from. There's so many podcasts, and just getting our podcast out there for other people to listen and hear from these freaking incredible guests. Like we've had some incredible people, and obviously we're biased. We think almost everybody in the hockey world is amazing, but I would say, growing a podcast is the hardest part as far as like a logistical thing, but
hands
I
down
love
the
it.
hardest part.
I love it. I mean, I love getting to spend time with you once, sometimes twice a week, talking hockey, which we both love. It's so fun to just be happy and talking about something we love to talk about and hear from some really incredible people who've got big hearts and have a lot to say. So it brings me a lot of joy to be able to do that. So don't really find it hard per se.
Yes, growing anything, social media, podcast, whatever it is so freaking hard. That was the perfect answer.
We should tell everybody who's coming on next.
Are we gonna name drop?
I think we should. I think
name drop.
You should name drop.
We have actually a huge guest coming on next week. You definitely know who she is. And if you don't know who she is, you probably should know who she is. Yep. Her name is pretty much everywhere. It's a her. Yes, I just gave you a little hint there. She is a Fox Sports West broadcaster, as well as the LA Kings reporter. I'm rambling on because I don't know how much more I should say
her
about
name. Say her name.
Carlin Baith. She's coming on. She's here on Tuesday. You should listen. It was so much fun talking to her, and it was a great interview.
Carlin Baith is amazing. She's an incredible human. That's coming up next week. Yep. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, and be sure to say one thing that you're grateful for or thankful for, and you're going to start one thing you're thankful for.
I'm thankful for you, Breezy, because...
Aw, you stole my answer.
Well, I am, because, you're a really great friend and partner to work with, and you and I have both worked with partners who are not great to work with. So when someone is good to work with and you get along and you're able to, be each other's like the positive and negative,
the yang.
The yin to the yang.
Yes.
And complete the other things that the other person doesn't have. It's really something unique and special, and I'm thankful for you.
Thank you. Well, I'm thankful for you. You are also the one thing I'm grateful for. And you bring a nice little spark and energy to my life. I've learned a lot from you, and I will always make sure to smile for the camera and turn my lights on now.
You're welcome. You bring a sense of calm and zen and peace to my life, knowing that I know
Thanks.
that Breezy is going to take care of whatever else I don't, or when I'm like in the middle of moving, just being like, Breezy, respond to that message. I literally don't have the brains to do it, and I always know you will, and I will do the same for you. So I know I can rely on you.
Yes. Go team.
Go team, let's go.
Let's go.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.